Hello, and welcome to Terra Incognita. If you're a user of V-Ray 2.0 for SketchUp, you may have noticed Chaos Group's announcement of V-Ray Express for SketchUp in conjunction with the Service Pack 2 update. There doesn't seem to be a lot of documentation on V-Ray Express at this moment, so the purpose of this video is simply to communicate my own understanding of it. This video is in no way associated with Chaos Group. As a registered user of V-Ray for SketchUp, you can find the Service Pack under your V-Ray SketchUp Downloads page. On a Windows machine, here is mine. It's version 2.0 24942, and I'm using SketchUp 2014. You can find V-Ray Express under the separate V-Ray Express download area. And again, for me on a Windows machine, it would be this download. I've already installed both the Service Pack followed by V-Ray Express, so you're not going to see that installation here, but I will call out one dialog that appears during the installation of V-Ray Express, and it's this one. It indicates that it's primarily an installation of components and materials. So hopping over to SketchUp with both the Service Pack and Express now installed, I want to check that the latest V-Ray Service Pack is installed correctly, so I could find that under Window Preferences. Under my Extensions menu, I'll scroll down. I see V-Ray for SketchUp. If I click on it, it'll show me that the version is indeed now 2.0.24942. I don't see any other V-Ray extension listed here, so it's not a standalone extension. So I don't see it under a toolbar either for a unique set of tools that's been added. In addition, I don't see it under V-Ray's menu anywhere, nor even under the material editor do I see anything particularly new. But if I open SketchUp's material editor, right now I'm in Model, I'll go to the pull down for Materials, and here I see several new folders of VFS materials, which I'm assuming are V-Ray for SketchUp. Also under the Component browser, I can go to the Components menu, and I see that there's now a unique folder of V-Ray components. I'll open that. Inside I have HDR lighting setups, studio lighting setups, and studios themselves. Let's start with the studio. I'm going to pull over this 3-corner studio wall, place it in my scene. Let's create a scene for this just so we could get some consistent renders. And inside my studio, I'm just going to create an object. I'll update that scene. And I want to try one of these V-Ray materials. Let's try the masonry option. This one looks like it could be interesting. The lucky brick. And let's see what that looks like. So with a little more light, I could see that this is a pretty neat brick material. I'm getting a lot of displacement along the edges to roughen up that edge. Some strong shadows are coming through from the displacement mapping. Let's take a look at how this material is actually constructed. We'll look in V-Ray's material editor, and here we could see our brick lucky outside. We see that we have a specific diffuse map, a reflection map, as well as both a bump and displacement map. Let's take a look at the file that these are coming from. So here under the standard installation path, we could see that the V-Ray textures that have been installed have considered every channel available in the material editor. So here's our lucky outside, here's the normal map, specular map. It looks like this is a preview image. Farther down we could see the diffuse map, and up here is the displacement map that we're seeing in the viewport. Okay? Let's close some of these. Let's try one of the other components that are available. Let's look at the HDRI lighting, and this forest sounds interesting. I'll pull that in. Let's put our good old teapot into the scene. And try one of V-Ray's reflective materials on here, along with that HDRI system. So I'm going to go to metal, and let's try silver. Let's see how that looks. Okay, we could see that our HDRI map has brightened things up considerably. We could see in the reflection of the teapot, although this is a very fragmented model, that we're catching a reflection of the HDRI in the background. I think I'm going to try adding a SketchUp object with a little smoother surface to see how that is handled with this material. So I'm just going to pull out a cylinder here, going to make it a group. Move it up next to our teapot and apply the silver material to that. If we look at our sub-objects here, we can see that we don't have a lot of divisions in this cylinder. Let's see how it renders, how the reflection renders now. I'm going to go back to the same scene angle and render. Let's take a look at this area of reflection a little closer, and we can see things are working a little better on a native SketchUp smoothed object. If we actually look at this material, we could see we can make any of our typical adjustments in terms of the amount of reflection, the glossiness, and the amount of subdivisions to help get a better image in this area. If we come around to this side and render, I can see that the displacement map is being applied to surfaces of this object, even though the material was never implicitly applied to those surfaces. In fact, if I take another material, let's just go to a flat color. We'll choose red. And I'm going to apply it just to the face there and render again. I've unintentionally created a multi-material here with the displacement from the brick in a separate material. This has been a problem with the way SketchUp handles displacement for some time, and as you probably know from working with it previously, the best practice is really to group the objects with displacements as individual entities and make sure that that's the only material that is applied to that object. The last thing I want to look at is the third feature of the V-Ray components, the studio lighting package that has been included. And these include several preset lighting schemes. Let's pull in this forest studio light just to see how that works with our scene. This light's going to be blocked by the wall. I'm just going to rotate it around a little. Now I'm going to disable. I should mention that you can access all of the HDRI settings and indeed the dome light settings as well from the regular menu. Here we could see the specific HDRI map that has been assigned. If we go to the file, we could see some of the others that are available. But let's delete that dome light for now. And I also want to disable SketchUp's native sun and sky. Let's go back to our scene and see how this looks. Our studio is looking a little dark with these camera settings. Let's set it to something a little more appropriate for an indoor studio. Maybe a shutter speed of 100. We'll change the f-stop to 5. And we'll leave the ISO at 100. And I could see in this area I'm getting a little edge tearing. That's something I would want to address in the displacement map. But this is a little more appropriate studio lighting. So that's convenient to have a few of these presets and studio surrounding components. Well, that's the current functionality of V-Ray Express as I understand it. It gives you an assortment of new materials to choose from, a more SketchUp-based interface to bring them into your scene, an assortment of studio lighting arrangements, as well as some preset HDRI lighting components, and finally some studio surroundings themselves. So it seems like a good start in getting V-Ray lighting and materials going in a project. Of course, I hope to see Chaos Group continue to expand the Express library and functionality from here. If I missed some important aspect, or if you have something to share regarding your experience with V-Ray Express, please leave a comment. But other than that, until next time, cheers.